Hey guys, welcome to the JuiceBox Reviews. This is the first episode of the JuiceBox. My name is Adam Wallace, and you may remember me from Wallace Woods Weekly. Well, this is part of the new show. This is a reviewing segment. Today we're going to be reviewing Metallica's new album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. The day that never comes is finally here. Metallica are back with their 10th full-length studio album, the blistering Hardwired to Self-Destruct. The album was released on the band's own independent record label, Blackened, as its first studio release. Not only this, but it's their first ever double album, clocking in an impressive 77 minutes. Like, that's monstrous. And it's basically 2017 now, which means it's been almost a decade since the release of Death Magnetic. Fans have been chewing Lars and Co. out for a new album for way too long now, and I feel like that was the kick that the lads needed to put out Hardwired. Personally, I got pretty tired of Metallica as I grew older and I matured. They just seemed washed out, and they couldn't really carry on what it was that made them so much better than every other band in the 80s. There was a lack of oomph and excitement after And Justice for All. You know, I'll never forget the first time I heard Ride the Lightning and what I felt when I heard it. Like, it was a very powerful moment, especially because I was only 11 years old. Like, don't get me wrong, Metallica are pretty much the reason I am who I am today. Not just as an audiophile and a musician, but as a person. And, you know, I never thought I'd be that invested in them again after I heard all this other music, but I was wrong. In the last week, things have taken an extreme turn for the better. And, like, does anyone else actually believe that it's finally here? I still don't. I never expected another full album. And to be completely honest, I didn't care to hear one after Lulu. Like, that was just a monstrosity, a catastrophe. Who knew that 2016 would kick so much ass for thrash metal? Megadeth and Anthrax severely stepped up their game, and everyone has noticed. Like, surely the boys in Metallica did too. And it's not just the Big Four who offers serious competition. Testament just released their first record since 2012. It's called Brotherhood of the Snake. It's an absolute pile driver, probably my favourite album of the year so far. Incredible. It's possibly the heaviest release of the year too. I mean, at least in terms of what I listen to. It's giving everyone a run for their money. Sorry about that, it's my phone, I'm going to turn that down. So, you know, enough about all this shit. Let's get into the actual album. I'm going to talk about the actual album now. The first single was the first song on the album. It's the self-titled track, Hardwired. And I feel like this is a refreshing way to start the album. It's smart, and it's a very careful choice. Consider the fact that this is the first thing a lot of people are going to be hearing in 8 years after Death Magnetic. For me, that album was only slightly better than the likes of Load and Reload. That's just my opinion. But Hardwired is what I believe to be a new anthem for the likes of younger metalheads, you know, kids who are just getting into this kind of stuff. And also something for those middle-aged metalheads looking for like a nostalgia trip. You know, they hear that Metallica has a new album and they're like, oh, like I'll check this out. So they go out and buy that, and I feel like this is a very memorable song for those kind of people. It's a neck-breaking whirlwind of speed. It's perfectly suitable for the likes of heavy metal karaoke. I mean, you just have to listen to the chorus of this song. The lyrics are ironically beautiful. We're so fucked, shit out of luck, hardwired to self-destruct. What does that even mean? It's unforgettable though, it's brilliant. This is the shortest track on the album, and I really got some Kill 'Em All vibes from it. You know, it's perfect for the 90% of you who are stuck in the 1980s phase. Next track, Atlas Rise, is one of those songs that gets 100 times better with every listen. I really saw the Iron Maiden influence in there. It sounded quite a bit like Hollow Be Thy Name towards the end. In terms of Metallica, it was like something mixed with the Black Album, crossed over with a Death Magnetic song. And I'd say it's a pretty damn tasty combination. There's 2 killer guitar solos and an incredibly tight rhythm section. Like, I can't stress how tight the rhythm is in this song. One of my favourites for sure. Of course, with any album, you know, there's been plenty of controversy since it leaked. Yeah, it leaked last week and everyone's been listening to it. You know, there's plenty of haters as expected, but there are a lot of happy metalheads too. There's endless comparisons, and of course the constant debate: Metallica versus Megadeth, Dave Mustaine versus Kirk Hammett, all that jargon. You know, I tend to agree with all these opinions, but as a whole album, I feel like it is very reminiscent of older Metallica works, but in different ways. It reminds me of Master of Puppets in the way that there's no lack of rhythm changes. Sometimes it's a little hard to follow, unfortunately. But I mean, Metallica have always been that way, especially with And Justice for All. That album was insane. I get a hint of late 90s Metallica, like 1997, pretty much like the Reload era, just because of Hetfield's voice. And it sounds much stronger and heavier than it has in a while, because you know, his voice in the last decade has been lacking a little live, but it sounds like he's getting way better, like he's got something back in there. But the most prominent similarity that I can hear is the production and musical values of Death Magnetic. And I mean, that's a given because Greg Fidelman, he came back to record it, he engineered it, and he mixed the record. But like more specifically to that point, a lot of the songs remind me of Cyanide, which was like the hit single off Death Magnetic, for whatever reason. And specifically the song Confusion. You can hear it in the verse and the chorus, like they sound very similar. I'm not complaining because I love that song, but like that's all I can think. And yeah, it's not a bad thing at all, but this album does remind me of Death Magnetic, but I feel like it's a much better sequel to me. It's kind of like Adam McKay's Anchorman 2 to the first Anchorman. Unpopular opinion, but the second one was so much better than the first one. Anyway, enough about that. The band, they released a music video for each song through a bunch of different websites. Like they premiered it through Rolling Stone, Loudwire, like all of these different music websites, and then of course they posted them to their YouTube page, and they did that every 2 hours for an entire 24 hours, so fans were staying up like an entire day just to hear these songs before the actual release of the album on Blackened Friday, which I'll get into in a second. This is a really cool way to reach fans, and I don't think any band has ever done that before, where they just release a music video for every song and before the album's even released. Like, that's so fucking cool. There's a big variety in the videos. There's some of them like in the studio or when the band's playing live, like for the Wards of Summer. Some of them are animated, and others are just really twisted, or they follow some kind of story. One of my favorites was the video for Man Unkind, which there's a black metal band which is like supposedly Metallica, and they play the song for all these black metal fans. It's just funny. It's fantastic. And another one of my favorites was the video for Murder One, and Murder One is a tribute to Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. The song goes so much better with the video, but I do like the song as a whole. A lot of people are saying that this song is the weakest on the album, and it does Lemmy absolutely no justice, but it's a tribute. Like, it's a great song. The lyrics are very clever, and they just kind of fit the whole legacy of Lemmy Kilmister. It differs in the sense that it doesn't follow complex rhythms and unnecessary time signature changes. You know, it follows like a straight up rock format, like the Black Album. Like, it's just to the point. It could be like a single. You know, it's total rock and roll, just like the legacy of Lemmy. It's a booming effort. Good job. I was saying about Blackened Friday. I'll just explain that to you now. This is actually really cool. More bands should do this. So they had select record stores worldwide stay open until midnight so they could release special editions of the album, and they would give away like freebies, posters, goodies, record slip mats, magnets, t-shirts, whatever. And there was contests too. There was only one shop in Toronto that participated, which, I did miss out on, but I think it was such a cool thing to do with the fans. There was like listening parties at every show, you know, just a unity of metalheads all there to pick up a new album, which doesn't happen much anymore because everything's online, everything is digital. But it's good to know that some of these things are still alive. You know, it's almost like Record Store Day, but just for Metallica. the band themselves, they showed up at the Oxford Street HMV in London, and they did like a signing and they did a meet and greet for all the UK Die Hard fans, which was really cool of them. I think they're really good to their fans. Aside from Man Unkind, which was written by James, Lars and Robert, every track on the album was written by Hetfield and Ulrich. Kirk Hammett made a statement earlier this week. He said that he was a little upset he wasn't included in the writing process, which was the first time in Metallica history. But apparently he was having writer's block, and the demand for the new record felt very forced on them all, which I could tell. It has been 8 years, but it didn't seem like any of them were too interested in writing an album. Honestly, aside from that, I think the writing was great. Kirk or not, it was really well written. The album's split evenly, there's 6 tracks on each disc, or 3 per side on the double LP, depending on how you look at it. Each side is as good as the next. Halo on Fire and Spit Out the Bone are personally my 2 favourite tracks, and quite possibly 2 of the greatest Metallica songs since 1988. I'm not putting that lightly, they're fantastic songs. Halo on Fire carries a very eerie, sinister tone, and Spit Out the Bone, like it quite literally spits out a hellish fire to the ears. It's the best that Hetfield's voice has sounded in forever. I say this tune has to hit your earbuds. It's a crippling rager, and it finishes off a modern day masterpiece perfectly. Although, if you're a Megadeth supporter, I'd say don't watch the music video for that, because it's highly reminiscent of their music video for Dystopia. Like, it follows the whole dystopian concept. It just feels like a rip-off. So, like many albums from all of these still going heavy metal legacy bands, this is another one that'll take a few listens, which I feel like a lot of them are nowadays, but like it really does pack a punch. So far I've listened to it about 4 times, and I'm struggling a little to distinguish between each song, but I do find that they are all, for the most part, very memorable, which is good enough for me. I was skeptical about the new Metallica album, yeah, and I was scared, and I'm glad that I had no expectations going in. And I'm really glad to see that the push they got paid off. Do I want to wait another 8 years for a new album? Hell no. Get on that 2-3 year world tour, same shit you always do. Make your goddamn return to Toronto already. It's been, 9 years? Just get back to the studio after that, and then, do something big before you retire. In the end, yeah, I recommend this album to all fans of Metallica, and anyone at all who may want to dive into something new with some elite musical prowess. These guys are legends. They may be washed out, but this is a really good comeback album. Go out, support your favourite bands, buy the album. It's worth every penny. It's cheap as well. Out of 10, I'm going to give it an 8.5. It lacks lyrically sometimes, however, sonically, it's brilliant. While it does feel a bit on the safe side, which is honestly probably what they needed to keep us invested, it does have some competition with the Big Four. It beats the hell out of Slayer's Repentless, which, for me, I did not care for that album whatsoever. I think it's on par with Megadeth's album, which is a bold statement in the metal community, but it doesn't even touch Anthrax's For All Kings. Absolutely untouchable. Hardwired to Self-Destruct is a driving record. It's filled with speed, fuel, and it's got a newly lit fire that's exactly what all of us die-hard Metallica fans needed. Listen to Hardwired to Self-Destruct as soon as you can. It carries almost all elements of early Metallica, and even some of the new elements, but of course only the good ones. Anyway, thanks for listening. Let me know what you think. Catch you guys later.